The most powerful force on earth is a human soul on fire. You have a deep ache in your soul for something more, to come alive, to let your passion pour from you like an endless well. When your passion comes alive, the magnificence buried deep inside of you is unleashed. Gifts and talents you never realized surface as your life unfolds like poetry. You can do hard things. I can show you how. This is Thrive Yoga Fit Transformational Coaching, where I teach you how to heal yourself from the inside out. All right, so just looking over your intake form, and you know what you wrote down. I know what you wrote down, but I'm going to read just a little bit of each, and I want you to tell me which one of these issues you have the most emotional charge around, okay? So health issues, lots of stress, issues with your liver, and this is something that has affected your family as well, just kind of like transgenetically. So that was originally at an 8. Relationship issues with, we'll call them A. Relationship is in limbo, and she is now separated, but she might not be taking the next step, and you're kind of stressed about that. And then the next one is a lot of trouble focusing, concentration, might have a lot to do with what's going on in your life, health issues, etc. So of those 3 things that I mentioned, which one sort of pops up in your awareness as like, yes, I'd like to start here?
This is so I would say that the relationship one was, especially when I felt that out, was right in the middle of some stuff with A, that just is, I see it, it's been a constant, not healthy, is the best way to do it. It's a constant roller coaster ride that, I keep getting on, we both keep getting on, and it's, I don't know, it's caused a lot of trouble, especially here lately. So that's definitely high up there. The health thing, I feel like I have, even though that's been stressful and I've been worried about it, is I have something in front of me with medication to get it cleared up going forward. So
it sounds like issues with A? Sounds like the issues with A might be the first place to kind of hop in.
That, and what was the other one? My
focus and concentration.
Concentration. I think that has a lot to do with trying to balance that emotional issue along with the emotional issue I've had with the health stuff, and trying, I'm not focused. My mind's all over thinking of these other things. And so when I do focus, it's not for very long, and I get caught back up into monkey mind and everything else.
I can almost guarantee, just from the little bit that we've talked about already and just from reading your intake, that focus and concentration and lack thereof is because you are split in so many directions, and there's overwhelm, but there's also disconnect from your mind and your body, because we know that that's the past. There's a history of addiction here. And for people like us, we have a tendency to check out very quick because that is what we did, and substances are not being used anymore. And so it's like, okay, well, we have to train ourselves to go back inward. So let's start with the issue with A. What do you like? So you keep hopping on the roller coaster ride. She does too, but you keep hopping on that roller coaster ride. What are you getting out of it?
So can I kind of back up to where, like, when we met, I guess that would, so we met and it was not supposed to be this way. She was, I was in Kennesaw near Atlanta. We ran into each other, and she was separated at the time, and I had left Athens. Me and my daughter's mom split up like 2 months before that. And then it was one of those deals where you met somebody and just clicked. And it's like, wow, this is super great. And then 3 days later, I find out, she's like, hey, I'm married. We're separated. I'm supposed to be moving back back in with my husband in 3 days. Well, that began just 4 years ago. 16 months later, she moved from my house, from Athens, Georgia, to North Dakota to get clean. And the idea was to go spend some time with her sister, and she would come back and work on things with her husband.
So pause right there. Before we go any further, I want you to take a few deep breaths, because I can tell what's happening in your body. It's affecting your voice too, is like this clenching, kind of squeezing out. I can tell the anxiety is already coming in. So I want you to look at me, and I want you to breathe and look at my eyes and take some deep breaths and try to relax your tongue and your mouth, soften your jaw, and use the heart-to-heart connection, even though it's through a screen, to breathe and come back. To inhale and exhale and soften around any clenching in your body, and allow your breath to enter and expand your back ribs. So I can tell this story is alive in you, and it has its sort of life of its own. I can already tell.
Yeah, it's definitely got Jerry Springer written all over it too. Coming up. No, that helped.
Good.
So she went to North Dakota. We, while she was in North Dakota, we talked here and there. And my eye fell off, and then I straightened back up. And me and my daughter's mom had got back together, and we had our daughter back. And I was trying to work on stuff with her, even though, to be honest, like my heart wasn't in it, but it was in it, for my daughter.
So you're doing what you thought you should do, like as the ethical parent and all that. Okay, gotcha.
And eventually, that December, April comes back. She's back, I think, like a month. She calls me out to Atlanta. I get off work. She wanted to talk. I go out to Atlanta. She's like, David, I love you. I want to leave Chris. And I was like, April, I can't do this. I can't do that to my daughter. My daughter's 3 at that time. I was like, I can't. Even though I'll be honest, I wanted to, but I was like, I couldn't do that. So we kind of washed our hands. She went back home. Ashley then completely, can I cuss on here?
Absolutely.
Completely fucked me over. Where she got back on, drugs, and I found she was sleeping with a friend of mine. So I come home, and he was in my driveway. So I did what any rational person would do, and I went beat up, busted his windshields and everything else.
I see the Jerry Springer coming in. Yes.
No, this whole time I had an IT company. So 2 days later, I go to check my mail, and he stabbed me 6 times in the back and cut my thumbs off. And
wow.
Killed me. Yeah. So I left Athens. I took my daughter to Augusta to get her out of there. Obviously, Ashley was way off the chain, and I moved back to Augusta. And during that time, I was like, okay, I kind of screwed up here. I should have went, with April. I should have did that. So I went to Atlanta. And talked with April. We spent 2 days out there. I was like, listen, that's where I was at with my daughter. I'm willing to try this and everything else. Second day I was out there, I find out she's pregnant. And it's with, not mine, it was with her husband. And I was like, okay, that was I got to get away from this again, washed our hands. I went back to Augusta. She was in Atlanta, and then I completely fell off for like, I I'd say 5 or 6 months.
How long ago was this?
This was, at this point, 3 years?
3 years.
Right, 3 years.
All right, so I'm going to take the needle off the record. I have a couple of questions because, again, we want to get to the belief systems underneath that's causing, you to act in this way and like be drawn and pulled in different directions. So first of all, now you said that your heart wasn't in it with your ex, but yet when she cheated, essentially, and you came home and you found out, and then it caused like a big emotional reaction in you and, act out in violence and anger and rage, it sounds like. What was the driving force behind that? Because it's not that you were in this loving relationship necessarily.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're absolutely right. And what it was is, with all that with April, I did bottle it up. And I was like, okay, I can honestly say I tried with her with that. I went to counseling. I tried to get her. When she got back on drugs, that time, what I think hit me home is that I felt like because for so long she begged for me to try and everything like that. And then when I found that, I felt like she did that just to get back at me.
Okay, so there was a sense of justice, it sounds like.
Yeah, and there's something about, I don't know, she saw, it gets worse with that. So she saw me when I was stabbed, and I went to the ER. Her sisters came up there with Athens. 3 months later, I was still trying with Ashley. I was like, Ashley, I'll get you the detox. We'll do this. I'll pay for it. I find out that she was still screwing with the guy that saw her daughter's dad got killed him. And all of that just affected me really. It was just a lot.
Right there. So it was a lot. So I want you to breathe and try to drop in a little bit. So what are the feelings that are, like, if we pause the scene, what feelings come up? Like, it fucked you up real bad. What are those feelings on the inside?
It was the amount of betrayal there that was, It was beyond, okay, I got high and I made a mistake and I did that. It was a matter of somebody that we were together 8 years that just saw you in the ER stabbed, knew exactly what happened there, but who could still do all that. It was just like, to me, that was like, wow, I guess kind of a disbelief. It also hurt a lot because, this was somebody that for a long time that I lived with, shared bills with, had a daughter with, you did all this stuff with, and you never expect to be, to me, there's no other way to say that fuck you than that you mean that little to somebody.
Okay, right there. Take a deep breath. Why does it hurt so much that you meant so little to her? Or in your mind, that's the story that you were saying. Because what your brain did was, hey, here's all this evidence. You don't mean shit to her.
Why did it mean so much?
Mm-hmm.
I think we all, I will say for a long time, at least one of the biggest attractions I had with Ashley was that, because personality-wise, we were two different people, but she was always had my back, no matter what. And so to then go from that to, I don't know if this she's gonna kill me, or you know what I mean? I'm not sure. I don't even feel safe here with some of the stuff she's done. And this is not to say that I was a saint and was like this perfect or by any means. like I told her, I said, I definitely deserve I deserve to eat some crow here. I said, but what I didn't deserve was the extent of it. But I also kept. Even after that, with Justin, I tried again. She begged and screamed that she loved me. I said, okay, Ashley. And then all of a sudden in the mail I get, she was sleeping with another guy for a year. And he sent me all the pictures of it.
Okay, so let's pause again. I think the part that hurts the most is that she's touching this button. And by the way, I'm hopping into belief systems. I'm not saying that your story isn't like, oh my gosh, like if I hop out of coach mode, I would totally be your homegirl and I'd be like wanting to give you a hug. So just so you know, like I'm human here, but I'm being your coach because that's going to help you the most here. So by her actions, because somebody could take a step back and be like, wow, oh my God, like, you know, what a shitty human being. Like, I can't believe like she did all those terrible things, right? But for you being inside of that relationship and her doing those things or not being there, she pressed on this button that was like, you don't deserve like basic human compassion and acceptance. And that is something that goes deep in you.
Yeah. And fast forward to 2 nights ago, she comes over here and wants to get back together. And she wants me to commit to it. And I said, Ashley, I will never commit. She's like, you can never forgive, blah, blah. I said, I didn't say I could not forgive. I said, I can never go back there. I said, I can't forget it. I said, one, I will never be able to go 100% in with you. And I don't want to be in a relationship with that. And two, it's not like you stopped with any of that. I begged you, your mama begged you, just her mama told me to get the hell away from her and everything else. This only stopped with you 4 months ago because the guy called the cops on you.
Right. So let's bring it back. Let's like start to let go of her and draw it into you because we've hit the belief system that we want to go deeply into. So where did this belief system start that you don't deserve basic, like decent human treatment and compassion? Where did that come from?
So I think with her, we were stepping. I didn't go out. I was dating April. I was dating Ashley and then was sleeping with April. We had split up, but I did see how bad it hurt her that she saw that, David's head over heels for this one girl, and I never got that from him. You know what I mean? I saw how bad it hurt her, and so I felt like I put myself through that a lot because I felt guilty for that. That makes sense?
Yeah, but let's release them in the story now. We're drawing directly back into you and possibly maybe some childhood stuff of where did this belief form? Because that belief was already there, you know, by the time that you met her. She just pushed the button. So where might you guess? And I want you to breathe deep because now we're going to start to access some more subconscious stuff. And this is what makes this experience with me different than like talk therapy, because I'm not talking your head right now. I'm talking your heart. So take some deep breaths. We'll take some time to become aware of the sensations in your body. Like I want you to, like kind of move your fingers around, feel your feet in your shoes or on the ground. Relax your shoulders and just take some deep breaths. And relax the tension around the front of your throat and your collarbones. And we're pausing for you to breathe and tap into the intelligence that you're learning how to do with your yoga practice, and all this stuff exists. And so to sort through everything we have here, we need to recruit the intelligence that you're keeping in your body. So just about 3 more deep breaths and see if you can lengthen the pause at the top of your breath and the pause at the bottom. Good. Okay.
Where does it come from?
Where does it come from, if you were to guess?
So I've had this cycle of self-destruction where which you just clicked to me when you were saying that like I can build up the life, have the life, and I could do really good, but for whatever reason, I self-destruct it and I can tear it down, almost like I'm not worthy of having this thing.
There's a part of you that thinks you don't deserve it. And it's going to continue that cycle because here's the thing is your thoughts create your emotions create your actions create your results in your life, and your results will always prove your thought. And so if you have a deep belief system that's kind of like just waiting for your life to build up, it's going to spring out because it has to prove itself because it's a deep one.
I think I feel like that since I was anybody that was close to me as far as friends, three of my best friends growing up, relationships, they're either dead or they left, or I don't know. Like I found three of my friends who either killed themselves or overdosed. And so there's I think a feeling there like I should be there, or that's David's the one who can't hold it. It's the true David is the one who's a junkie. It's not the David that's the IT consultant that does so good like that.
Okay.
And
what's a harder feeling for you, guilt or grief?
What's that?
What's a harder feeling for you to experience, guilt or grief?
I think I do pretty hard. I would say, for the most part, guilt. I've been told, like, my daughter's same one we're talking about. She was always, my best friend Tyler had an overdose, and she was like, "Watch, David. It's like clockwork. He'll be fine for 6 months, and 6 months hits, and he's going to totally." And I was like, yeah. And it's kind of like that. I don't know. I'm also PTSD is something I've been diagnosed with, which seems to be kind of common with that. But it's almost like I bottle in, and then I take all this stuff out on myself.
It builds up,
and at times I will take it out on other people. So
it's in so many layers that with PTSD, it's like you don't even know why it's coming out, or the smallest thing can trigger because it's been so. Sort of like spring loaded. So I'm going to tell you because I can see you and I can right now I'm communicating to you verbally, like our minds are connecting, but I'm talking to your heart. Your heart's talking to me. So the guilt comes up because what hasn't happened is the grief. And the way that you just mentioned your friends dying, and it's like in that moment when you said that, and I want you to breathe and I want you to just really hear what I'm saying here, you disconnected from your heart. There is so much grief that is stuck in and around your heart. And there's also in there somewhere is a part of you that hasn't I don't know if the word is grieve, but there's a part of you that's keeping that image of the junkie alive. Like there's a part of you that still believes it, that you're just going to end up there, try as you might, white knuckle it. That's where you're going to end up. So that is a false belief system that exists within you. I want you to breathe, connect with me, and let me ask you, do you feel safe right now in this moment with me?
Yeah.
Okay.
I do.
Are you aware of the sensations in your body? Like, you know, even, I know it sounds like silly, but like touch your hands, like, yeah, like sometimes I like to like rub my legs to like sort of draw me back in. Yeah. So like just, you know, touch your body a little bit, like touch your shoulders, like give yourself, some people like rubs, some people like squeezes, like just kind of like somatically connecting to yourself so that your body comes alive a little bit more. You know, sometimes I even like grab my hair and pull it a little bit.
Yeah, no, that's
good stuff. Good stuff.
I know that, yeah.
Okay. All right. So I want you to breathe and expand the sense of safety around you. You have my voice. You've tapped into your spirituality now, and so you know that the universe has your back even when it seems like life's falling apart. Keep breathing and inviting in that quality of the universe supporting you in your back, maybe even breathing into your back. Keep listening to the compassion and the safety in my voice and absorbing it like spiritual nutrition. And I want you to breathe and imagine you're sort of within yourself and you're walking towards a door. It's like a heart-shaped door. You can kind of like feel your feet as you're walking, and you're starting to feel like almost like a little bit of pressure around your chest, but you still have that sense of safety. Do you still feel safe? Okay.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do is we're going to peek open the door. So I want you to imagine just turning the handle, breathe, stay in your body, and peek open the door to where you start to get like just a tiny bit, a little trickling of that sensation of grief. And I want you to breathe as if there were a rainstorm and you were holding an umbrella and you purposely extended your hand out and collected just a few drops on your hand so you're not soaked in it, but you just watch those drops. And I want you to breathe and tell me, where do you feel grief in your body? What is the quality of grief? I want you to breathe and be intimate with it.
Yeah. Definitely feel it in my chest and solar plex. Okay. It's just I think back to just sad. That's the best word I can come up with.
Okay. All right. So I want you to imagine that you're kind of peeking the door open a little bit more, and safety is kind of just around you like a bubble, and you're inviting that grief. Does it feel safe to invite grief to wash over you?
Yeah.
Okay. So we're going to actively invite grief in, and we're going to lean into it. And with each breath, just imagine that you're pulling that grief in from the room, inviting it in like, yes, I have the space and I have the safety now. And keep breathing, and don't let your mind take control of this moment, because your mind is going to try to separate you from the experience you need to have. It might tell you things like, this is no good, this doesn't feel good, all the stories. Keep drawing into the sensation of your body. This is where we start to access and purge those deep subconscious belief systems. Allow the grief to become expansive in your body. So rather than being clenched or stuck around your heart, each time you inhale, and perhaps you can deepen your breath, I know that you're a yoga person, so if you know the Ujjayi breath or the breath with sound, you can kind of create that vibration, and you're, again, being intimate with the grief. And sometimes when we feel grief, there's an instance of feeling our heart breaking a bit. But on the other side, it feels like we're almost falling in love because you get to know who you are without this heaviness. So keep breathing and keep just holding space and expanding it. Use your breath and imagine that we've hit the pause button on time. You have all the time in the world. There's no rush. You don't have to be anything or anyone. You're just in this space. And just keep becoming aware of areas that you're clenching and softening. And as you do this, your fascia is having a response. As we create space in the body by releasing tension patterns, we allow those pockets of stuck energy, grief, sadness, anger, guilt to flow, and we trust that the body will do its thing if we stay present, because your presence is very powerful, as you've seen in your life. You've built up, to where you're making 6-figure salary. And this resistance builds up, so we're uncorking it. Are you starting to notice more of a flow of energy in your body?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Good.
I feel,
good.
The word I'm looking for, centered.
Good.
More in flow.
Okay.
Than I was scattered, never all over the place. So.
Okay. So now we're centered. We're allowing the energy to flow. There's a couple more things we want to do. We want to see what's on the other side of grief. So you're letting it flow through you. You're breathing it, like you're allowing it to kind of wash over you. So imagine that we've opened that door fully. We're in grief. We're walking through. You're allowing it to flow through you like the martial artist that allows the fluidity. And you start to notice through the clearing, there's another door. And so we're going to go through. We're going to walk up to that door, and we want to see what is on the other side of grief, what's underneath it. I've been resisting this. What else? It's on the other side. When I allow this to process through my body and let go of that heaviness, keep breathing and just imagine you have your hand on the door handle, just turning it, peeking in. What is in that door? Is there a different feeling in there? Memory? Try to stay in the sensations.
No. Best way to describe it. I think all of that happens is that, at least with me, was you're confronted with we're all returned to dust and bones. And like I remember Chris, we were best friends, all these people that you had all these experiences with, but to me it hit that I miss them. But is that is the same thing, them losing life in their eyes, the same thing as a deer losing life in their eye? You know what I mean? Is that it? Is that what we're... And it was, I thought I came to like terms with that as far as, but I think it's still something that, I don't, anybody says they know, I think they're full of shit. I believe if they know for sure. I just can't. And I have my what I think is going to do that. But when you see, I remember watching that and watching people lose their life, and it looks the same as somebody losing their life, an animal, or there's something, the spirit there that's losing it. But where's is that it? Body just rots and we go on, and all of these relationships we build with these people, it's just I feel like something's missing substantial from it, and it's something maybe I'm not seeing, but I remember thinking through that a lot with all the stuff that happened, because a lot of it happened back.
Yeah. There's such a magnitude of death that the mind and the ego can't really comprehend. We can read great literature about it. We can see it in front of us. And we can contemplate it all that we want. So this sensation that you have flowing through your body, right? There's a part of it that might be, chemical changes, and there's vibration. It's essentially energy, right? We're energetic beings. Yeah.
And I do so at one point in my life, I was actually going to be a Catholic priest, which would have been a totally mistake. But I remember, one of the things that I was a hardcore atheist and all that, but I realized that we are all energy. Energy doesn't die. It dissipates to different forms. But thinking back then with watching and having all that, it was just like, it seemed real, like not super, it seemed superficial to me. Like, there was, almost like, I don't know how to explain it really. Like,
that it wasn't the end for them.
Does it make any sense what I'm saying?
Yeah, like maybe like it's not necessarily the end, like it's the end, like they're not encapsulated in a human form anymore, but you're at peace because you know that energy is not created nor destroyed. And so they've been released.
And when you see that, you could see, before I was real cynical about it. I was like, well, you could do it. But what that is their spirit, I think. It's moving to whatever happens there. We either go to some, we all become one spirit, whatever happens, but back then I looked at it and I was like, this is there can't be a God, because it's just for us leaving these people's just the consciousness leave them, and then there's nothing there. But I'm glad you mentioned that, because when I started looking at it, that we are energy, and that the whole part of you, part of me are all stars in the skies. It all recycles back around. But back then it didn't click to me that way. It was just like, this seems really like almost torture. Like, what puts somebody on Earth to go through some of this stuff, and then they're gone. And I had to show. I remember I found Chris. I had to take his dad out there and show his dad. It's like, what good was any of that? Anything?
Well, certainly accumulated experiences through you, and the mind can disregard these big happenings because it can't quite wrap around it. But as you have experience through your practices, when you release the constraints of the mind and you come back into like the present moment, into your more universal qualities, you find that things become more neutral, which is what you just demonstrated. And so how can we apply that to the situations that you're in? So let's bring it back to call them A. And if you can take a step back and breathe and make the situation neutral, what happened. But I'm going to say this as a coach, just because the situation, we've made it neutral and it doesn't feel like people have a control panel over our emotions doesn't mean that we don't set boundaries, which a lot of people don't know how to set, or, grew up without being able to assert themselves because maybe it's like, well, who am I to have my autonomy, right? To be an individual being. So allowing the situation to be neutral and taking a step back from it, and then thinking of, what you want to do with your life, where you want to be, and, seeing behavior patterns of other people around you. I think it makes it a lot easier to make a decision as far as, I know I have emotional attachment to this person, but is this the best thing for my life? Is this the direction I want to go? Because it's, it's player's choice, really.
No, so that's one of the things I'm starting to come to terms with, is like, for a long time, it was that my future or whatever, not to get too sappy here, but whenever I was with April, it's like, all right, I met somebody that I felt like, okay, I could do life with this person and be content and not chase it. So one minute ago around, I would be content, and I felt like I could do stuff, like actually almost an empowering feeling. But fast forward through all this stuff now, it's like, that's not how it is anymore. It's turned into a lot of pain, and it's I still have that pull of what it used to be.
Yes, right there.
There's also myself I have to work on, and there's other fish in the sea.
Yes. The application of grief that you just did with your past friends, the quickest way to move on from a relationship is to allow the grieving process to happen. And what we're grieving, a person doesn't have to be dead for us to grieve, is the projection into the future of what we thought we had. For a lot of people, that is the absolute hardest thing to let go of, because your brain is attached to it. Like, it made sense to you. It was like, okay, my life is going to be set. This is how it is. She's going to be my wife, or, whatever your arrangement is. And it creates like this stability, even though it's completely an illusion. And then when that stability has been taken, we think, again, exactly, it's been taken. So the picturing your future, like, can you do that with you? And what does that look like?
Well, here's the kicker. Now it's done, and I get a call earlier today, and it's back with, I love you, and I can do it. I have to have distance, for sure, because I've got this almost like this clinging cycle of with her of the almost like an emotional adrenaline rush,
like an addiction.
Off and on. Yeah, you know what I mean.
Yes, I know exactly what you mean.
Huh?
I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah, and I think I get tied up with that. And for a long time, it was the rush of our. There's some addiction there to meeting somebody in a hotel room. You got 20 minutes. You got to do this and that. Start hiding. And the thing is, with all that, I've had this happen to me. It's a bad feeling. So to do it and know I'm doing it to somebody else, but you continue to do it, it's I got a lot of guilt there. I don't like the guy, but I still have a lot of guilt there.
Well, you're getting something out of it.
Yeah.
Here's the thing, too, is what I think, just from hearing your story and as your coach, you're having trouble picturing a future with you. And so what you do is like project onto her, like, oh, well, I pictured that with her once. Then there's the up and down, there's the chemical rush and all of that. And then that will lead you like to kind of give your power over to her. And when you do that, it's you hop back on the roller coaster.
It's safe. I felt safe, even though it was a complete disaster and it's emotion, but it felt safe to me.
Is safety something that, yes, it does. We can find safety in other people, even though it's not necessarily real, but we can feel that, right?
That uncertainty was safe, but there's more safe than me worrying about myself and trying to go through life, with a whole different path that I thought I had that was going on.
Why? Because you can't picture a future with just you?
You know what a lot of it is, to be honest, it's like 42. It's like one of my fears is definitely I don't want to die alone, especially when we have some of the health issues I've had. There hasn't been nobody there. It's like, Jesus, I do not want to be. And it's just kind of daunting with me. So
yeah, that's completely understandable. And I think a lot of people go through that. I was talking with someone just a few weeks ago that was like, yeah, they're like, the person that I'm with right now, it's, could I maybe do better? Maybe. But, I don't want to be alone. And it was kind of like similar age. Like they were like, I'm 43. I have 2 kids, so it's that is very, yeah.
You only have so much time. You want to live it fullest with somebody, or sometimes the grass is not always greener on the other side.
It's true. And the stability is not necessarily there. It's up and down. And, the emotional regulation, right? It sounds like might not be there. But then if we bring it back to you as far as what we can control, right? Can you regulate yourself emotionally when these big feelings come up? It's like an impulse. Anyone who's been addicted to anything, it's like very relatable. There is that impulse to go back. What's underneath the impulse? It could be loneliness. It could be, this fear of like, I don't want to die alone. And it's like, is that a good reason to be with someone?
No. When I was this whole 4 years with April, I've dated, I've dated people, but it was always superficial. Like there was only so close you're going to get to me, and because I had one foot in when somebody was married, and I had another foot here, but it was almost like it gave me an excuse of not being emotionally vulnerable to anybody else, I guess. Which eventually a lot of I was talking to ex-girlfriend of mine, caused a lot of freaking pain with him. So yeah, I got a lot of work through.
What's the hardest part about emotional vulnerability?
Believing is that I can be vulnerable emotionally, but the feeling that, okay, I'm going to do that, I'm going to invest all this energy, and you're not going to be there. You know what I mean? It's like I'm holding off to. I find this perfect person that then I'll do it, but it don't work that way because people don't. What's the number one sign of a healthy relationship is being vulnerable with somebody. Well, if you're never vulnerable with somebody, you're never going to grow anyway. So
it's true. And this thought, belief that they're going to leave anyway, and then you've lost friends either to death or addiction, and but what happens in the pattern of someone who's been addicted to substance or eating disorders or anything like that is the worst part about that is that we leave ourselves. We check out from ourselves. We go up in our head. We leave our body. And then we're scared. We're alone. And we've lost the ability to process and make ourselves better. It's like we've cut off the supply of medicine that would nourish us. That is the absolute worst.
Whenever you start using, you cut off the sunlight of the spirit. He goes, you can call that whatever you want, but it's whatever drives you. It's like whatever happened, that's exactly what you lose. Made a lot of sense.
Yeah. So I want you to like take some deep breaths and like just become aware, because that's where we're at. Just become aware of that leaving, that fear, like you're putting that power, you're giving that power to someone else. And I'm not saying that if somebody leaves, it's not painful, right? But like what we would want to work on is believing that you deserve to stay with you and choosing to stay, making that a conscious choice, even if it's fucking painful, even if you want to check out, that you deserve for someone to stay. And that starts with you, not checking out. So breathe. Soften your body and choose to stay. And we're going to give you an image of the part of you that you're choosing to stay with. If I were to say, picture your child self, what age just pops up into your mind? Don't think about it too much, just a number. It pops up.
Say it one more time.
If you think of a childhood version of you, what image pops up? What is the number?
I would say it's going to be either 8, 12, 8 to 10.
Okay. I want you to breathe and I want you to picture him. Like picture his hair, picture his face, his clothes. What does he look like? What is he wearing? What is his emotional state? And just breathe and picture this version of you. And how do you feel towards this version of you? Try to soften around your heart and your throat and your belly. I can tell that you're clenching a little bit, even through the camera.
I don't feel like, I feel like sympathy, but almost like, I wish I could like tell him, hey, I know all the right things. I might not ever do them right, but at least I know the right things to give you here. So, I remember it was a lot more innocent time. It was mostly baseball, sports.
So breathe and just imagine staying with him. Like it doesn't have to be up and down roller coaster, you know, like the thrill, the adrenaline that you seek out in other experiences, relationships, and that we used to do in substance. Just like breathing and staying with that picture of you. Just so you have something to hold on to root you down. Someone that's worth staying with, that deserves your attention. And keep breathing, relax your jaw, relax your tongue. And sometimes when you do this work to start, you know, it kind of feels like, oh, okay, I'm just going along with it, right? But it's interesting because like you keep softening your body, you keep bringing it up, and then you start to feel it. So give it time. Breathe. And he may be the key of what's underneath any impulse to go back into a toxic, unhealthy relationship, to engage in behaviors, everything from, you know, people check out on their phone, people snack, people do all types of things. And in those moments, we leave ourselves. We're trying to figure things out in the mind. So keep breathing and dropping in, breathing, dropping in, choosing to stay.
Definitely feel relaxed.
Good. So what I would recommend is for you to let go of the overwhelming chaos. Because here's the thing too, with liver issues, like the liver houses the emotions. Being able to stay with you and stay present and stay connected to yourself, like root in, anchor in, and breathe and practice that, like moment to moment, hour to hour, like checking in. It's going to help you to focus. It's going to improve your concentration. It's going to help you to love you because you're going to get to know you. It's you being intimate with you. And then a lot of times health will improve because of that.
Yeah. So do you recommend any specific, like I've done, I've tried here lately to incorporate it back, pranayama, my knees on this thing, box breath, the alternate nostril. Do you have anything in particular?
Yes. Sudarshan Kriya would be a pranayama I would recommend. I can send you a little link to download when we're done with this. It's also known as the Soham breath. Doing, it can get kind of intense. On the So, you inhale. On the Hum, you exhale, and you keep going and going. The recording I have is about 20 minutes. Not saying you have to...
Kundalini, is that part of... I used to do the still... stay. Anyways, it sounded similar to what you were saying.
So it's just...
This is a big Kundalini person.
Oh, cool! Yeah. So Kundalini, there's a style of yoga that's called Kundalini, and then there's Kundalini energy. So
she was at the camp with what's his name that brought it here. Her parents were, and it's all full blown. You probably even know her. She's an author now.
Oh, okay. All right, so maybe she studied with Yogi Bhajan. He's like
when she was 17, he set her off. They were living in the same thing.
Okay, all right, okay. So this is, the pranayama, it's a part of the 8-limb system of Ashtanga yoga, not primary Ashtanga yoga, but just like the practice of classical yoga, pranayama.
Yeah.
So if you chose to do that every day, that is definitely going to get the energy moving, but part of your journey, and it's going to be something that your mind is probably going to resist. It is being present with you and connecting to you as much as you can throughout the day. But that big pranayama energy, like taking 15, 20 minutes a day to do that, is going to unstick you, and then the work comes in as far as being mindful.
Yeah, I see it from I don't buy anything. That stuff I've used like shopping to keep my mind off stuff. I've seen it here, especially the last 2 weeks.
Yeah,
it's crazy shit that I usually don't do.
So you want to pause and see what's under the impulse.
Yeah.
It's the quickest way to get to know why you're doing a behavior is to catch yourself right when you're about to do it. Take a few deep breaths and see what you're feeling underneath, because any action is driven by a feeling. There's a feeling you're avoiding. Make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. I got a lot out of this. Good. It's been great.
Good. I'm glad. So thank you for taking the time. I'm glad that this was helpful for you. And thank you. Thank you so much for listening. If you want to support the podcast and if it's helping you, please consider writing a review. You can go to iTunes or Google Play, go into the search bar and type in Thrive Yoga Fit Transformational Coaching, scroll down, and you can leave a review. This helps other people to find me as well as bumps us up in the search ratings. Also, this podcast is sponsor-free, so that means we don't receive anything for doing it. If you feel so inclined and this podcast is helping to support you and you want to return the favor and help to support any production costs of the podcast, feel free to give a donation to a Venmo link, Thrive Yoga Fit, or PayPal, Erin at erincoach.com. If you don't have the means, don't worry about it. We're not going anywhere. You're all good. But if you would like to give back, you can give back in those ways. Last thing, we have a coaching certification coming up, and it's 7 days of an intensive work, followed by a 3-month mentorship. You will not find another teacher that's more passionate and dedicated than I am to my students and their learning. And not just their learning, but the application and how they show up in their life. If you've been listening to this podcast and it's had a huge impact on your life, just imagine what it would be like to spend 7 intensive days with me and then a 3-month mentorship. You can check that out at thriveyogafit.com/coach-certification. Again, thriveyogafit.com/coach-certification. Thank you so much. Namaste.